Gospel reading this morning for this year's Palm Sunday is from the Gospel of Mark, the 11th chapter. When they were approaching Jerusalem, at Bethphage and Bethany, near the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it. If someone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' just say this, 'The Lord needs it, and will send it back here immediately.'" They went away and found the colt tied near a door outside in the street. As they were untying it, some of the bystanders said to them, "What are you doing, untying the colt?" They told them what Jesus had said, and they allowed them to take it. Then they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on it, and he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, and others spread leafy branches that they had cut in the fields. Then those who went ahead and those who followed were shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Hosanna in the highest heaven." Then Jesus entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. And when he had looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. Here ends this morning's reading. May God add a blessing to our understanding. The title of this sermon, Embracing the Palms, Understanding the Cross. I recently read an article that gave me a great deal of pause and wonder. The article suggested that the whole Palm Sunday holy hubbub in Jerusalem was an intentional strategy on Jesus' part in order to pull ordinary people into an overt yet subtle proclamation disguised as public street theater. For centuries all over the globe, people have used street theater to push up against the status quo. Demonstrations fall into the category of street theater. Whether it's the storming of the Bastille in France in 1789, or the civil rights marches of the 60s, or the Million Man March, or the women's marches, or the students from Parkland, or any other school that chose to stand for 17 minutes. Or the students who built 17 snowmen because it was snowing so hard they couldn't march. Or what happened yesterday across the country. Generally speaking, these demonstrations are creative street performances that contain important messages calling into question the political views of the times. Their purpose is not so much to cause trouble as it is to call into the light something that is already a cause for trouble. Will you pray with me? Holy God, it's Palm Sunday, and we call on your light today that our vision may be clearer and our hearts may be led from trouble. Amen. Today we remember the multitude of people gathered in Jerusalem for the upcoming Passover celebration. Word has spread, you see, and the word on the street is that this amazing teacher is this powerful man who has made his presence known. These people wanted some of the signs that were being talked about. They wanted the miracles to touch their lives. On this day, they'd come there for one religious festival, all the while hoping and waiting for a glimpse of this man, this different man, this one that some were calling a Messiah. And they were praying for an end to Roman occupation, for an end to the Roman rule, an end to the cruelty of their existence, an end to their hopelessness. So they imagined what they already were familiar with, a general, a king, who would crush the rulers that were crushing the life out of them. They were ready to welcome a king. Any king would be better than the Roman emperor. The excitement and the anticipation was palpable. Hosanna! They cried. Hosanna! Remember, we have the luxury of hindsight, which is always 20/20. We see clearly that throughout his ministry, Jesus was always saying something unexpected. Oh, he said it within the realm of the expected, but then he embellished. He quoted from the Old Testament, from the Hebrew Scriptures, for example. When he was asked the question about the greatest commandment, well, he quoted Deuteronomy. To love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength. And then he threw in that next part. Oh yeah, and you gotta love your neighbor. You know the one you hate. Yeah, that one too. The one your parents hate. Yep, that one too. So within the realm of expected, he pushes the boundaries and calls us into something unexpected. Maybe even unbelievable. This teacher taught things based in the Old Testament and then stretched them. Love your neighbor was just one. What about that one, forgiveness? What do I have to do? Forgive once or twice? Anybody remember? 70 times 7. Oh, which means infinity. How about the hardest rule of all? God doesn't follow our rules. God makes the rules for the good of all of God's children. In order for the human race to understand true transformation, it couldn't be business as usual. Jesus was a different kind of king. This street theater called Palm Sunday acts as an enormous parody on what people thought should have happened. There was no army for this Messiah, just a peculiar assortment of fishermen who'd left their nets at the sea, a tax collector who didn't collect taxes anymore, and a whole group of women who didn't belong to the men they were traveling with. This is upside down. This king enters the city not on a stallion, but on a donkey that he borrowed. This king is not a conqueror of the Romans. He's a teacher, a Galilean rabbi. Was this satire at its worst? Or a divine upside-down wisdom at its most clever? So I think that understanding the cross starts by understanding the palms and then embracing them. Waving the palms then meant that the people thought that Jesus would help them out of their misery. He didn't. We know that. We know that the freedom through Jesus is the power of grace in spite of our misery. We know that grace enables us to forgive and to dine with betrayers the way he did. We know that the realm of Jesus is beyond our human realm. It's the place where love is the guiding light and death has no sting. But we also know that Jesus does not function on our worldly plane and does not eliminate for us the human power mongers, no matter how short-sighted we believe them to be, no matter how much they may enslave us in their divisiveness, and their contempt. Embracing the palms for us means that we recognize a parody when we see one. It means we don't get pulled in to the muck and mire of senseless racism. We don't get pulled into irrational contempt for the planet that we live on. It means that we have enough Christ sense within us to recognize it and to do something to counter its evil. For us, embracing the palms today means that we breathe life into our innermost resolve to be Christ's church, even if we're going to get crucified by the public eye or public vote. Embracing the palms means that we know what we're getting ourselves into. All this love and forgiveness, taking responsibility for our mistakes and responding to violence with non-violence. These are the ways of the cross. The parody of Palm Sunday is just the beginning of a very long week. Steel your nerves, because by embracing the palms, we understand that the cross is not far away. Thanks be to God.